thank you, Fran, and thank you to all of my friends who are here tonight. You know, this room is very, very special to me. As Fran mentioned, way back in April, actually, April 29th of, I think, 2014, when my son was born, we had an event right in this room with 5 candidates who were running for president at the time, Mitt Romney and Tim Pawlenty and Herman Cain and Michelle Bachmann, and the place was packed. There were 600 people here, and it was a great event. It was Americans Prosperity event. Many of you might have come there. And the event ended, and I walked across the street to the yard, and I was getting a beer with this guy, Andy Sanborn. Maybe you've heard of him. And he's sitting over there talking to Rand Paul, and I get a phone call from my wife, and she says, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm having a beer." And she says, "Well, can you come home?" And I say, "Why? What's up?" She says, "Well, I got to go to the hospital." I said, "Why?" She says, "Are you going to get to your dad? Is it my mother?" She says, "I'm having a baby." So, I better get there. So, literally drove home, still in my suit. She was still in her dress, picked her up, and my son, Reagan, named after the president, was born like 4 hours later. So this is a very special room. And then let me fast forward, because the first time I ever met a person who I'm pleased to call my friend and the President of the United States was right here in this very room. In April of 2014, we had an event. It was one of the very first times I met our keynote speaker, Steve Bannon. We came up here and we held one of those cattle calls in New Hampshire and asked all these guys to come in and thought they were going to run for President of the United States. And Rand Paul was here, and Ted Cruz, and Mike Lee, and Marco Rubio. And my friend Dave Bossie from Citizen United said, "Hey, let's invite this guy Donald Trump." I said, "Dave, he's never going to run." He goes, No, let's bring him up. I said, "Okay." So he's got 11 minutes to speak, just like everybody else. And if you remember, then Mr. Trump spoke for about 45 minutes. Blew right through the 11-minute sign. I didn't care one iota about how much time he had. Got off the stage, told everyone it was the greatest speech he'd ever heard, and the rest was history. And what you won't remember, but what he said that afternoon, that morning, and it was very telling. He said 2 things. He said, we need to build a border fence, is what he talked about back on that particular day. And he said to something, and it was live on C-SPAN, and you can go back and look at it, he said, we have to do something, we have to do it very quickly. Because if we don't, we're going to be in big trouble. We have to make America great again. And that was the beginning of what many people didn't understand was a revolution. A revolution that was launched right here in this very room, from Donald Trump, businessman, to ultimately Donald Trump, the candidate. And this room was the same very room. We're on election night in the primaries. Donald Trump won his first victory from the great state of New Hampshire by defeating his opponents by 19 points because of the people in this room. So thank you. So this room is special, the people in the room is special, but look, I am just one person who had a small role in the campaign, and after I left the campaign through June of 2016, and we had been privileged enough to win 38 primaries and caucuses, there was a brief intermission, which was a failed project. Then we got to the next guy who really did a hell of a job, Steve Bannon. And let me tell you about Steve Bannon. Other than wearing 5 shirts at a time, which I don't understand because it must kill the dry cleaning bill, Steve Bannon doesn't get enough credit for the work that he did on the Trump campaign when he came in as the chief executive officer and brought with him Kellyanne Conway as the campaign manager, my friend Dave Bossie as the deputy campaign manager, to completely restructure the campaign. Steve will talk about it, but he won't give himself enough credit. When he came into the campaign was down about 16 points, and in the 11 major states that Donald Trump had to campaign in, he was losing every single one. And in August of 2015, when Steve Bannon came in to take over the campaign, there were very few people in the country who thought Donald Trump was going to get elected. And what they actually thought Donald Trump was doing was bringing Steve Bannon in to burn the house down. They thought that was it. Trump had given up, and he's going to bring this guy in. He's just going to rip the Republican Party to shreds. But that's not what Steve was going to do. Steve was a tactician and understood where Donald Trump had to go to be successful. And Steve was the one who put together the strategy to destroy the Clinton campaign in that blue wall that they talked about, which is places she forgot to go, like Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania and Ohio and Iowa and North Carolina and Florida and all of the other states that Donald Trump won in when they said he had no chance. And then after the election was over, Steve went to the White House, and he served as the chief strategist for the White House. And many of you may or may not know this, but in Steve's office, he had a big piece of paper on the wall. And it was all of the promises that the president had made on the campaign trail to the American people that he was supposed to fulfill. And every time the president fulfilled one of those promises, Steve took out that marker and crossed another one off. And under Steve's leadership in the White House, many of those promises were fulfilled. Now, they're not all done. We have a lot of work to do. But I can tell you this. If it wasn't for Steve Bannon and the team that they assembled during the last 2.5 to 3 months of the campaign, and it wasn't for Steve Bannon and the team that they put together in the White House for the first 7 months, this administration would look very differently, and the promises that the president made would not have been fulfilled to the level that they were today. So I am so grateful that when I called Steve to ask him to come to New Hampshire and spend some time with us, he agreed without even a hesitation. So without further ado, I'm so pleased and privileged to honor my friend Steve Bannon. Thank you.